The night the cowboy found her, the storm had already decided to change his life. Thunder rolled low over the plains, rattling the wooden beams of the stable as Luke Mercer hurried inside, boots heavy with mud and regret. He had lived alone on that stretch of land for 6 years, ever since grief hollowed him out and left him quieter than the desert at dawn. He expected nothing more than the familiar smell of hay and horses, the comfort of routine. Instead, his lantern light fell on a woman asleep against a bale of straw, her dark hair spilling over her shoulders, her face calm as if the storm had chosen not to touch her. Luke froze. She was wrapped in a worn shawl, rain-soaked at the edges, breathing slow and steady. A faint bruise colored her temple. She did not belong there, yet she fit the space in a way that unsettled him, as if the stable had been waiting for her. He should have called the sheriff. He knew that. But the thunder cracked again, closer this time, and instinct overruled reason. Luke set his lantern down, shrugged off his coat, and gently laid it over her shoulders. She stirred but did not wake. Luke spent the rest of the night on a stool near the door, listening to the rain and wondering what kind of road brought a sleeping Apache woman into the stable of a man who had sworn never to let another soul close again. Her name was Naya. She woke at first light, alert in an instant, eyes sharp and assessing. Luke raised his hands slowly, not wanting to frighten her. "You're safe," he said, his voice rough from disuse. "Storm came in hard last night." Naya sat up, pulling the coat tighter around herself. Her gaze softened when she realized where she was. "Thank you," she said. "I didn't mean to trespass." Her voice carried strength and weariness all at once. Over coffee at the small table outside the stable, she told him only what she chose to share. She was Apache, traveling west to find family she had not seen since childhood. The road had been unkind. A wagon ride gone wrong. A fall. A night with nowhere to go when the storm broke. Luke listened more than he spoke, something he had become good at since losing his wife. Silence was his armor, but with Naya, it felt less heavy. He offered her a place to rest for a day. Maybe 2. She hesitated, pride and caution wrestling in her eyes, then nodded. That choice marked the first crack in the walls Luke had built around himself. The days that followed were simple and complicated all at once. Naya helped with chores without being asked, her movements efficient and practiced. She spoke gently to the horses, and they responded as if they had known her for years. Luke watched her from a distance, struck by how naturally she belonged in the rhythms of the ranch. At night, they talked by the fire. She told stories of her grandmother, of the land her people once walked freely, of how losing home could fracture a person without killing them. Luke shared his own loss in pieces, how loving deeply had left him afraid of ever loving again. Their challenges were not dramatic at first. They were quiet, internal, the kind that demand courage rather than strength. Luke battled guilt. He feared that caring for Naya was a betrayal of the woman he had buried beneath an oak tree on the hill. Every smile Naya drew from him felt stolen. Naya carried her own weight. Trust did not come easily. Too many promises had broken along her journey. Staying too long in one place Felch knew that could mean danger or disappointment. The outside world soon made itself known. Word traveled fast in small towns. A rancher living alone with an Apache woman drew attention Luke had avoided for years. Neighbors stopped by unannounced. Questions grew sharper. One afternoon, the sheriff rode up, eyes narrowed, hand resting too casually near his gun. "Is she here by choice?" the sheriff asked. Naya stood tall beside Luke. "I am." The sheriff lingered, searching for trouble. Luke felt anger coil in his chest, something fierce and protective he had not felt since his wife was alive. When the sheriff finally left, the silence between Luke and Naya was thick. "This is why I should go," Naya said quietly that night. Luke wanted to argue. Wanted to beg. Instead, he admitted the truth. "I don't want you to leave. But I won't cage you here." That honesty shifted something between them. The real test came when trouble arrived not on horseback, but in the form of men with papers and cold smiles. The land Luke worked was under dispute, claimed by a company that saw profit where he saw survival. They pressured him to sell, threatening legal action he could not afford. Naya listened, her jaw set. "This land matters to you," she said. "It's all I have left," Luke replied. She thought of her own people, pushed from land to land, told to move on for someone else's gain. The pain was familiar. This time, she refused to walk away. Naya reached out to her family, the ones she had been searching for. They came, bringing not just support but knowledge, helping Luke navigate the fight with evidence and allies. The ranch became a gathering place, filled with voices, laughter, and purpose. Luke faced another challenge then. Letting others in meant risking loss again. But he stood his ground, learning that community did not weaken him. It strengthened him. The legal battle dragged on, draining and relentless. There were moments Luke nearly gave up. Moments Naya doubted her decision to stay. They argued, clashed, hurt each other with fears spoken too sharply. Yet each time, they chose to come back to the fire, to talk, to listen. When the ruling finally came in Luke's favor, it felt less like victory and more like relief. The land was safe. The ranch remained his. Naya stood beside him on the hill that evening, watching the sun sink low over the plains. "I was supposed to keep moving," she said. Luke met her gaze. "And now? Now I choose where I stand." The future did not promise ease. Prejudice did not vanish. Old wounds did not magically heal. But something fundamental had changed. Luke learned that love did not replace loss. It grew alongside it. Naya found that home was not just a place tied to history, but a space built with respect and shared purpose. The stable where they first met remained just a stable. But to Luke, it became sacred ground. A reminder that life can change when you least expect it, when you open a door instead of locking it, when you offer shelter without demanding answers. Years later, Luke would say that the storm was the best thing that ever happened to him. Not because it was kind, but because it led him to a moment where he chose compassion over fear. And that choice altered his future forever. The message carried forward from their story was simple and enduring. Healing begins when we dare to see each other fully. Not as strangers, not as threats, but as human beings deserving of shelter, dignity, and the chance to belong.